Welcome back to Stationeers. It's a new day and you'll see I've started to build out the top level. We're not going to need it just yet, until I start building tanks and stuff, but if we head up here you'll get the idea. I'm going to go and build across, at least to that point where this existing pipework has gone across before, this beam, and then all the way across into here. And we should end up with a decent sized roof area then. And it'd be handy to actually have the tanks up here, keep them out of the way of anywhere else. And the tanks is probably what we're going to go into with this episode, and we'll see what we can do with that. So, yeah, where to start? Remember at the end of the last episode, I started by just saying that we have these air conditioners, and they're broken. I don't know whether it's the beta that's broken them. Well, as far as I know, they're broken anyway. If you have a look on this network analyzer, air conditioner on and powered closed, it shows up. Okay, there's two connected to the power network, but it only shows one, and it shows the one that's on. Okay, so that's that one, but it also says unpowered, and I don't know what that actually means, because we have lots of batteries, they have available power. It's not all being drawn out by the base, because the base is actually running relatively efficient. If we go on the side of this transformer here, you'll see we're running on 1.5 kilowatts for the entire base. Where is most of that actually going? It's probably going to the other area power controls. Yeah, 335 watts there, 460 and 325. So it's all going over in that direction. Okay, but you know, I have a 16.4 megawatts potential. Actual power usage is 1.8 kilowatts, and the majority of that is just these two transformers. It doesn't seem like it's recognizing that these are powered. Doesn't matter if I replace them, doesn't matter if I replace the cables, just not working. And maybe that's just to do with the beta. So I'm going to continue on regardless with an episode. I just have to build it a little bit differently, and we'll see if we can trick these later. You'll see what happens. See, you just get this, it's just dead. And it's not like it even brown outs the base like we had in the first season, so these air conditioners... I'd like them to be nice and reliable, but not so much. And at maximum, they can take 6 kilowatts, so that's 12 kilowatts if we enable both of them. But yeah, you can see our batteries are actually just fine at the moment, and part of that is because I've started building a second row of solar panels. There you are, see, and they work quite well. And the easiest way to do that, or at least I found, if you want a second row, and yes, they may well cause shadows onto each other at sunset and sunrise, but most of the day they are perfectly fine, is just to run the power down out of one side. So in this case, the power is all running on the right hand side of them, and then the left is all the data. So if we go down this way, all the data connects from the other end. So if you have a look down here, you'll see it goes into here, and the data is going to go that way. And of course we'll have junctions, and then we'll have sort of this interleaving of the data and the power cables, so that we don't have to deal with anything on those, nothing complicated, and we get lots of power. So with that in mind, we got five blues, so I'll just return this heat system back to being on again, and I'm not sure whether it'll actually consume more power than they are currently generating, but we'll give it a go, and if it starts using up too much, we can also turn it off. In fact, let's just see what the computer says. Hopefully it is actually accurate with this kind of thing. Apart from the air conditioning system. So you'll see there it's fluctuating between 2 and 4 kilowatts. 2 would be probably the heaters being off, and then 4 would be the heaters being on. Remember, there's 2 heaters in there, so that's a couple of kilowatts. Alright, and of course, depending whether it's daytime or nighttime will depend on how that goes, but I'll keep an eye on the charge level. And if that's a problem, we can always put more solar panels in. Because I went mining, and the mining, well, let's just turn that on. How much do I have at the moment? I have 300 gold, 90 gold, 300 iron, 128 copper. The solar panels hoover copper. They're like 20 each. So we just have to go copper mining. And just one other thing, if you do use this system, don't put the belts in too fast. if you put the belts in faster than the unloader can deal with them, the whole system jams up. 1 second, I've got a cat at the back that seems to decide it wants to fight. Okay, hopefully the cat's given up now. So yes, don't put the belts in too fast. I did jam the system earlier by doing that. And you have to rebuild a filter sorter, which causes all kinds of issues. I have to scroll through all those lists again. Not something I want to do. So yeah, just be a bit careful. So how do we proceed with the episode? We are going to need to heat up a lot of gas. And we can use a system like this, I suppose, except that we're not going to need low temperatures. We're going to need much higher temperatures. We can use these electric heaters to do it. Well, I guess we could just use them to maintain it and try to boost the temperature by another method. Maybe a separate room that is something well, I wouldn't say set on fire, but yeah, I really don't want to. I can just envisage horrible things if I try to use volatiles in an enclosed environment with oxygen. Yeah, probably not the best thing to do as a tutorial. So if we're going to do that, we're going to probably need to heat up the gas. Now, what I was just wondering is whether we should combine it with this system over here and just pipe the hot gas back that way. Or indeed, because this is an alloy furnace, we could build it out here. It doesn't need to be over there. That furnace will work perfectly well as is without us ever having to move it. So I don't need to replace this. This is still valid. So we do have our storage of gas over here, so it may as well, yeah. We don't have any blocks under here, unfortunately. No, it's a bit unsupported, this whole thing, but we have the means to do this, and we just have to think about what we're gonna do. So I think to start with, I'm gonna have to create another room like this, aren't I? And instead, I'm going to make sure that I use the heavy cable, not the light cable, because this will not survive the temperatures we're talking about. It's going to be far too hot for the regular cables, and otherwise it's going to be straightforward. So we will build the same kind of solution we've got here. In fact, do I have the atmospheric analyzer? I do. Good. Let's just go and see what this is at the moment. So we have, that's the world, 1.65 megapascals, 3000 moles, and we have quite a lot of CO2 that's warm on this side. A little bit of pollutant. How'd the pollutant get in and get it back into? Maybe I need to re-examine this at some point. I thought that should have been pure CO2. In any case, we've got a coal tank. And I'm probably going to re-enable that now then. Re-enable this. But this is going to be a filter, unfortunately. Yeah, it's 100%. That's fine. Now, I did get a comment from someone saying that the filters are all to do with how many moles go through them, not how long they're running for. We should probably test that at some point, because all the dev notes on them literally just give a figure in hours. They don't say relative to pressure, so that will do fine for now, but ideally we get that better. So let's first of all get another tank in place, probably here. I may have to rip this floor out. It's no big deal. And put some frames in place. We'll put another tank there, and then I'll start constructing our heating unit. And it's just coming dawn again, just as we've got our bits and pieces. So I've ran the pipe from our coal tank, which is here, out that way. Now it doesn't connect at the moment. There is a, let's just step through here. There is a gap here. This is going to be either, some sort of valve, pressure regulator, whatever actually we want to set up there to go out to this heated chamber, just like the other way. So we're just really mirroring the other approach. And now I just have to get this thing lined up. Let's rotate you. Not that way. Will you auto-rotate now? It looks like you will auto-rotate. Or not. Auto place? Come on. I'm scrolling the mouse wheel. Nothing's happening. Fine. I will do it manually. There we go. So same as before. No real difference. Obviously, it's not as far off as this side. It's quite close to the coal tank. Yeah, I don't really much mind about that at the moment. I may have to rebuild another system that way to just make the whole thing symmetric around kind of this kind of area, but it's fine. Okay, so now we just need to complete just our frame for our radiators, and we can just bring them all the way down, I think. Not sure how many radiators is optimal for this kind of thing, but that seems fine. And then what we're also going to do is bring some pipe around. So remember, we need a way to fill this room with gas. And I still would like a power switch. I haven't got one at the moment. So we have to have this weird thing where I'm using an area power control to control a active vent. I could control it with electronics, I guess, but I only need this manual. I'd like a simple power switch for something. I could use a console, don't get me wrong, there is a console that enables power switch, but it's the same kind of thing. I just want an actual, you know, literal manual connection, just like the logic switch, but for power. Or just be able to use the logic switch for it. I don't mind. That is fine with me as well. So we are going to need a... do we have any... yeah, I do have some steel sheets. Okay. I just want to weld up this wall just temporarily. And this whole thing is going to have to be enclosed to keep everything hot. We're probably going to put a door on as well, just like that. Maybe not the door. That's interesting because... if this thing's really hot, or if we run it at high pressure, the door may, well, blow. We don't want that to happen. But if it does, that's fine. Let's get. It's all a learning experience. We want an active vent. Have I got any? It's probably in the other locker. I do actually need to move these lockers now. Yeah, there we go. I do actually need to move these lockers or combine them into vending machines or something. I just don't want to have to go left and right through that vending machine interface. It's terrible. And let's put that upside down. Okay, so we've got an active vent. Hopefully the vents and pipes don't have problems with heat. Otherwise we could have different issues. So now we're going to need... We're not going to power it off this line, which is going back through our base, because that is limited by that 5 kilowatt power limit of this cable. I think what I'm going to have to do eventually is move this generator back and then just run the power cable out and back here with, you know, one generator going to this side for this heating setup. Did I say generator? I keep saying generator. Transformer. Sorry, someone did correct me in the comments. I should actually mention people's names. Yeah, so transformer, and then I'll bring probably some of the heavy cable back here, and we'll split the two transformers going left and right, and probably have a dedicated one to here. Or in fact, we may just be better bringing heavy cable all the way here, because this is just going to probably use up a lot of power. It should be fine once we get to the right temperature, but until we get there, oh, it's gonna be awful for those batteries. And is that heating system on at the moment? It is. So we are during the day, and this does look like it's keeping up ish. If that stays, or if that goes to blue during the day, that would be really handy. I know I'm ahead of my power needs then, because that is still working. Let's see, how far have you got? Temperature of the room is 95, and what's the temperature of the pipe now? 58. Okay, so it does lag behind, but that's perfectly fine. We're just going to have a lot higher temperature here. Okay, so I'm going to go get some radiators. I'll do that off camera, and we'll get to the point where I've got some heaters ready, and then run some cable or something like that. So I may regret it, but I'm going to try a door regardless. Let's get you open. Oh, there we go. We're going to power the door from the front, not from the rest of the network. And I just want it for aesthetic reasons. We're going to use kit walls, just like we have over there. I don't think I'm going to worry too much about what the temperature and pressure is, at least for this episode. We'll go to the probably controlled electronics next episode. I just want to make sure everything's working. I've got 4 of these on the inside now, 4 heaters. Got our active vent. Everything is now connected up behind the scenes. It goes out here. We've got a cable going up to where our regulator or pump will be, and it drops down around the outside, heads this way. And I've got a power controller, which is now on, just basically isolating this network from everything else, just so that we can address it with electronics easily when we come to do that. So I think that is fine. We'll then just have to basically pump cold gas from over here to here. But once it's in this side of things, much more so than the hydroponic system, we want to not to have to refill from the gas too often, if at all, once everything's up and running. So we're going to heat this up, and this is what it's going to take lots and lots of power to do so. But once it's at a high enough temperature, everything going into our furnace, which might be here or something, that will keep the whole thing symmetric, I guess, is that anything going into the furnace, obviously that will come back out, our ingots will come out of it, but any gases that are in there, or we deal with over temperature and over pressure. So sorry, under temperature, over pressure. So if the pressure gets too high in there, we'll recover the gas. If the temperature gets too low, we'll insert more hot gas. So we'll have this furnace, which hopefully should be hot most of the time. Let's give it a go. Okay, door's now hooked up, so that's easily opened and shut, in fact. We've got everything else we need in there, I think, other than a sensor. At some point, I'll need to connect one up, probably to this side over here. In fact, I can probably do that. Do I have any heavy one? We may be able to get away with that. Let's get the snips, and let's just say that is going to be a 3-way junction. Yep. And hopefully, again, the gas sensor will also survive. I've got some sensors around somewhere. Could be in one of the lockers. In fact, I think I know where they are. Are they in here? I hate this interface. Oh, no. Whoa, whoa. Yep. Yeah, some sensors. I need one, but yep, you don't get that kind of option from there. Okay, so let's just put this in as a gas sensor. We're going to need it later anyway. There we go. And that's pretty much the room done. Again, I can't think of any better way to control the power to that active vent to pressurize this thing other than this kind of thing, which I will do off camera between the episodes or something. It's something you've seen before. I had a light in the other one, but I don't think I'm going to need a light in here. And that's pretty much the room built. Did I grab the furnace? I think I did. Yeah, there's the furnace. So just like before, we're going to have a furnace out here somewhere. And I probably want to leave a little bit of space. Do I have a spare block just so I can measure this out? Yeah. So that's the... Well, in fact, we can just put a frame in. That will actually help if I just remove both of those temporarily. Where'd the other one go? I did just remove 2. No idea. This game sometimes, And if anyone spots, maybe it flew up into the air or something, I don't know. But let's just put a couple of floor blocks down because we're going to need them anyway. And that'll give me an idea of where to put this furnace. Sort of here would be good, I think. Let's just check how that is positioned. That's positioned quite nicely. In addition to what I already showed you in the room, over here, I changed that one corner. Instead of just being a corner, it's now a T-junction. And the T-junction, I'll put these back for now. I'll put one of them back for now because the other one's gone missing. The T-junction comes out here. So this is effectively going to be our hot gas source. So if we run a pipe down to here, we can certainly do that, and that will basically keep the furnace at whatever the hot gas is. So that's one way to do it. The other way is to have a pressure regulator, and I'm going to need a pressure regulator anyway, so I made a couple. Back here, that's an air conditioner. Where's my pressure regulator? Oh, sure, I built them. Did I not? Maybe I left them somewhere? Did I leave them somewhere? 1 second. I did. I'm blind. I'm gonna get the pressure regulator. Just as dawn. This is about the 4th day just for this one episode. Let's get it on here. And we're gonna use this. Just can you auto rotate now? You do. And those arrows are going the right way. So we're gonna probably want a lot of one-way valves here. And this is where I come to you guys with a challenge again, because, well, unless the beta decides to just disable furnaces on me between episodes. Not that I'm bitter whatsoever about those air conditioners. Here's the thing. How are we going to control this furnace? Now I'm going to tell you how I'm going to control it. And if you can think of a better way, you can speculate down in the comments. If you beat me, I will happily read your name out and use that solution instead. But we're going to have a relatively pure gas, CO2. We're going to take that out and we're going to control its input into the furnace. Now, just to not be wasteful, I'd rather keep that all enclosed as much as possible. So I am going to either use a volume pump or a pressure regulator. I'm going to monitor what the furnace is set to, because the furnace has a data port on top. It doesn't actually need power, but it says power and data. No idea why it says power and data. In any case, it has a port on top. Ooh, I can just fill in that gap. Just makes me feel better. And we can use that to monitor the pressure, just as we've done with that furnace over there. If the pressure gets too low, we're going to input some hot gas. If the pressure of our hot gas if the temperature of our hot gas gets too low, we'll just keep this in a loop, keeping it to the right temperature that we want. We can set that temperature. The only thing I've got a little bit concerned about doing that is that there is probably 1 or 2 alloys that need a very specific temperature and pressure. So we may well not want to go and just directly feed this all the time. So we could just ignore that input regulator and just keep it to exactly the same temperature as the rest of the system. Then what we'd need to do, if we did it that way, is on the output then, we'd be monitoring the temperature and pressure. And when the temperature gets too low, because it's directly connected to the input, we could just heat this system up when it gets too low. The pressure, we're just going to watch for that getting too high, or monitoring that kind of thing, and then we'd just pump out if that happens. And that pump would only happen not very often, because as soon as you put an alloy in, maybe some gas will come out, it would overpressure, and we'd then pump that out, and probably through some kind of atmospheric unit like that with some filters in it that isn't going to be used all the time. But what I was thinking of doing is not doing that, but just adding an extra stage in, just to keep this furnace somewhat separate from the gas, just like we're trying to do with hydroponics, in that we want to get this to a certain temperature and pressure, and that may require setting it to that temperature and pressure for different alloys. And in order to do that, we want some control over the input as to how far to pressurize this. And in turn, not just the pressurization from the regulator or the volume pump, but also the temperature on this side of things. The slight issue there is that we can't really easily heat things up. We can certainly easily cool things down. We can just inject cold gas. So if we can find the perfect temperature and pressure for like almost all the alloys, if not all the alloys, that would be good. It may just be a variance in pressure. Pressure will actually be easy, because all we need to do for pressure is put a second furnace down right next to this one and have a second pressure regulator. So we just run the pipe underneath, and this second pressure regulator would run at a different pressure than this one. Get me? Hopefully. And then as long as the temperature wasn't off, then we could do that, and that would work very, very, very well. I hope. If you can think of a better way of it than doing that, please do let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, that's what I'll be building next episode. I'll be putting the same electronics in we've got for this, probably behind this wall. Again, probably a Schmidt trigger of some kind. But we're going to want to then have some control over it. Now, if I remember rightly, we do have a dial we can use, but that's not great. Now that we've got the renamer tool, just to be able to input a value directly, that's much easier to actually use. Just to set a memory unit or something like that, that'd be pretty cool until a keypad comes in game. Hint, I'd like a keypad. Okay, and now that we've got that up and running for now, I'll just put these walls in. Why not? Just make it look pretty. I'll just have to rip them all back out again next episode, but that's not a problem. And we need steel sheets to complete them, which I don't have around on me. Yeah, the other thing I was going to just briefly mention is this output then. If we get some hot gases on the output, if we can separate out the hot gas that is the same as this, then once we've got this up to temperature, that hot gas can be just inserted straight back in at our leisure. Or, this is an interesting one, can we just leave a permanently connected filtration unit and anything but that will get ejected, and otherwise it will continue in a loop on this side of this regulator. So this will just stay in a loop and we'll only add to it when we need to. Not quite sure what we're going to need as far as removing and adding that gas and how the variance in temperature and pressure is going to be involved there. So I'm sure there'll be some healthy debate before we get to the electronics for that one. But yeah, here's where our pure gas furnace is going to be, I think. And that's pretty much it for this episode. If you like, subscribe, share as normal. Otherwise, as always, guys, we'll see you next episode for some more Stationeers. Probably electronic episode next episode. I will warn you ahead of time. There's probably going to be quite a bit of wiring and cabling going on. So this is more of a buildy episode. That'll be more of an electronics episode. So I'll see you next time for more of that. And as always, guys, everything's nice and charged. As always, guys, thanks for watching.